Hey everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. This is the Redmen Originals Podcast with a bit of a change lineup. I'm Steve Hall, Dan Clubb is here as ever. There's no Chloe, there's no Chris, and there's no Paul, each of whom are enjoying a little bit of a vacation as we prepare for the new season. So instead, ably joined by Andy Bell and by Lewis Asmore, because yes, there's plenty to talk about in the Liverpool sphere. We're going to be chatting, of course, about the Community Shield loss on penalties in part one, the good, the bad and the ugly of that particular game, and then in part two, of course, transfers is on the agenda as well. We're looking at Darwin, we've got a bit of Timmercast, incest, of course, Gay, Isak and everything else that you want to chat about. So do get involved in the show. Those who are watching live on YouTube, of course, you can use the live stream chat, and I'll bring those up throughout the course of the day as well. Gentlemen, thank you everyone for joining us today on a very sunny evening, or afternoon rather, in Liverpool. Dan, I've phrased this as the good, the bad and the ugly, this section. Let's start with the good. Okay. In my good notes, I had three of the new signings. I had Ekitike, Wirtz and Frimpong. A little bit of Alisson in the 90 minutes as well. We'll talk about the penalties maybe a little bit later, but I'm going to start, if you don't mind me, with Hugo Ekitike, because I'm guessing most Liverpool fans would suggest what was a disappointing result in the end with Liverpool not winning the Shield, but I think Ekitike's performance might be the biggest positive of the day.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that, really. Getting off the mark, on your semi-competitive debut is a pretty good place to start as well for Ekitike. We've seen strikers come in the past and do likewise. We've also seen strikers on the flip side take seemingly forever to get up and running in their Liverpool account. So yeah, nice to see. I thought his overall performance was really, really positive as well. Some lovely little touches, some lovely intricate play in the round, literally the halfway line at times too. So yeah, loads to like from it. I think perhaps most significantly, when you are looking at positives from the performance, particularly Hugo Ekitike's, is how much a drop-off there was when he went off. Like, we seemed to just stop being able to function once he left the pitch. So that pretty much told you it was night and day, really, wasn't it, for Liverpool, with Ekitike to without. And I'm not censoring it, maybe I'm overhyping it slightly there, but it was evidence that we missed him once he wasn't there. So yeah, I was really, really pleased. He was clearly delighted to get off the mark. A lovely goal, takes it beautifully as well, celebration to boot. So yeah, if you are coming away from that game looking at standout performers, and had we gone on to win the game, if you're looking for man of the match, I think he was certainly in around that conversation.
I suppose Lewis as well, that we us three, Andy and you and me, myself, we're talking in the build with the game what things we're looking forward to seeing, and his name was definitely brought up. We all mentioned Wirtz as well, looking forward to seeing him, but it was what type of striker exactly is Hugo Ekitike for Liverpool, and I think we found yesterday he's quite happy to drop deep and do the link-up stuff. He favours the left a little bit, and he, like all of our players seemed to do yesterday, and that might need something working out, because it felt like Mo Salah was over there on his own, and everyone else was on the left-hand side. But I think there was enough glimpses there, because it was funny, I did the final word show earlier, and Ian Young called him, like, he's almost like the £70 million forgotten man. He was like, Liverpool signed Hugo Ekitike, but everyone's been so focused on Isak and other things that they've kind of forgot that this lad's, he's here to play, and based on yesterday, he looks like Liverpool have got another good one.
Yeah. He's one of the most creative strikers in Europe last season from a progressive standpoint in terms of passes into the box, shot-creating actions. And we saw that yesterday, and we saw it in pre-season, how deep he'd call me, set-up, build-up play. Gakpo hit the post against, was it Yokohama? Started that whole play by building up, and he did that yesterday. And it's the pass that got plays into him before he actually takes the shot goal that leads to a goal. The control he has to control that in such a tight space, two defenders on him, ball fizzed into him. Would Nunez have been able to do that? Would a lot of other strikers have been able to do that? I don't think so. He composed himself really well. And like you said, it was evident how much we did drop off when he wasn't in the team. And Slot alluded to it in the press conference afterwards, saying, look, I would have loved to have kept him on, but he couldn't play 90 minutes because if he gets injured, we've got no other solution. So shame to see him go off, but it was what we want from Ekitike going forward. Brilliant performance.
There's a comment here actually from Wallet Wisdom, my name, says, I would much rather have Ekitike play left than Gakpo be sub and Isak as the striker. And when Liverpool signed Ekitike, Andy, there was a lot of talking about Liverpool think he's a versatile player, he can play a few different roles, he isn't just this number 9. The way he played yesterday, he did favour that left-hand side as well. Similar to actually Cody Gakpo when he played as a striker, he wasn't always the 9, he wanted to drift, and the goal he scores is from that area. So again, you who knows if he can actually do that job full time, but he did look like a lad who, he doesn't look like he just has to be a number 9 stands up front. He looks like he could go over there if Liverpool decided, go and pull the trigger and go and sign Alexander Isak, and then you want to get him in the team somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's something we could definitely see if Alexander Isak does come in. just to address the comment, I see where it's coming from. Gakpo was slow and lethargic yesterday, but that is completely out of kilter with the rest of his performances in pre-season, where I think he's been our sharpest player. So I'd say Gakpo's just had an off day there, and I think Gakpo will have that left-hand side on lockdown for most of the season, and I think he's good enough to score 20-plus goals in all competitions. Ekitike was marvellous yesterday. That's the first time I've seen him in person. I was at the game, and just everything that went into him, he did the right thing with it. Whether it was holding it up, using his big, massive frame, whether it was the one-touch interplay with mainly Florian Wirtz, but also the rest of the front two, the rest of the front four. I just thought he was fantastic. The goal's so well taken, and it's not the first time he scored that goal. He scores that goal against Spurs. He scored it in some of the highlight reels I've watched. And the most annoying thing about his performance was second half, he got himself in that situation, got it out of his feet, should have hit the shot, didn't want to be greedy. But if he'd had the shot there, we could have possibly gone 3-1 up. I thought he was fantastic, and I'm glad we took him off. I will swap winning the Charity Shield for a 2% better chance of beating Bournemouth next Friday night. But it shows that we can't be completely reliant on him. He is a young player. He is maybe going to have a dip in form. He might even get injured. And if the performance that we saw when he went off is going to be how we will perform when Hugo Ekitike is not on the pitch, then we're in trouble. So it reinforces the need for reinforcement.
Someone here said, John Paul says he reminded me a little bit, his touches reminded me a little bit of Firmino, and I think that's like the little flicks and sticks around the box. I was racking my brain yesterday who he reminds me of, and I mean this is a compliment when I say this. He reminded me a bit like Peter Crouch, but fast. In that, it's a little bit gangly at times, but actually, if anyone goes back and remembers Peter Crouch's, he was brilliant on his little flicks around the corner. He could lay it off, and when he scored that type of goal where he found corners, Ekitike's miles quicker than him. Obviously, probably not as good in the air. He's like 4 inches short, and the header later on maybe suggests that he's got a little bit of work to do because he's missed a similar one of those for Frankfurt. If anyone watches the video, so a little bit there. But I mean that very complimentary. I liked Peter Crouch. He was dead slow relative for what he was. I thought Ekitike, Dan, for the goal, but not just the goal, you could see he's very sharp, and again, it's a joke we made the other day, but like he keeps himself on side, which is a bonus. But it did look like, again, you don't want to judge a player on 70 minutes of a Community Shield because it's a very short sample size. But I'm with Andy. It went for him personally about as well, I think, as we all could have expected or wanted it to.
No, absolutely, 100%. I think you're right there because, it was. And again, I think we've all come away from that game with our sort of our views on what he offers and what he can bring to us significantly heightened as well, because to Ian's point earlier on, like we have got somewhat carried away and blindsided a little bit by the Isak stuff and forgot that we have signed a very, very capable centre forward who showed that yesterday, because to the guy's point as well, I think he starts a lot of the moves and obviously finishes the one which he does as well. The goal is very, very like what he seems to be doing a lot during his time in the Bundesliga. So I take your point on the Crouch comparison. On the contrary to, the significant contrary to Crouch, he actually took out 15 games to get off and running, didn't he, Crouchy, whereas Ekitike's done that immediately. So I think there's loads and loads to take from it. From a personal, a very selfish point of view, he will have come away from that game feeling like $1 million. Like he would have loved to have got the winner's medal as opposed to silver one later on, and loved to have a grip on that Community Shield, but the big 50p as Paul always calls it. But I think overall there was loads to like from that. I think how he's already got a bit of relationship and understanding with Florian Wirtz is really something too, because they haven't played together. They played against each other a couple of times, but they seem to be on the same wavelength from the get-go, which bodes really well as well. And the left winger stuff's fascinating to me because Liverpool did suggest that he does have that versatility to his game. I'm not as in love with the idea of sort of bunting him out to the left wing as some people may well be just yet. I think there's a big difference between sort of preferring that channel to being a left winger, personally.
Well, your defensive responsibility for a start.
For a start, exactly. And he has done it, but fleetingly. And I mean like a handful of appearances. So I think there's something there, maybe in-game if you want to, mix things up and change the weapons and change the way of attacking, possibly. But I think he is very much a centre-forward who needs to be played as one.
Wirtz then? Someone, Oliver in the chat just wrote flow with flow with lots of O's. You can tell Lewis why he's £100 million plus footballer at times, because some of it's just really good. He does it really simply, but it makes it look effortless, which is the sign of a good footballer. He should have scored, actually, and that's a bad miss. I think you'd expect him to hit the target. He was completely free on the edge of that box when he hit that one over the bar. But, again, little link-ups here and there. What did you make of Florian Wirtz?
Class, man. Yeah. Oh, my God. I don't really have much else to say. He's just so good. He's so good in tight spaces. And I think there was points last season where we were looking at this team and thinking, I just want someone to have a go. I want someone to try and get something going forward. We don't need to try and constantly pass around the box trying to find someone in the middle. Wirtz is very much someone who I think if he sees a sniff of a chance, he'll just take it and he'll have a go at goal and he'll just try and make something happen. I do think he perhaps faded out a little bit as it went on, but I do think that the exclusion, like I say, Ekitike coming off later on probably impacted things. I know there was a lot of change around him and I think he needed someone like an outlet that he could get it to, and obviously Salah was getting marked out the game, but he's so just his ability on the ball, and it's not just that, it's off it as well. It's his pressing. He's so full of energy, and I don't think that gets talked about a lot when we saw Wirtz in pre-season, how much he ran his arse off throughout the matches. He was so good in defence as well as attack, and I can't wait to see what he does next season. Is he going to be box to box? Is he going to be purely just staying up top? Is he going to sometimes drop into that double pivot? I don't know, but so far he's shown that he's capable of doing any position in that midfield you put him in. Even when he drifts out left, he still causes problems. So big.
What was it like watching him in the stadium?
Yeah, again, first time I've seen him live. Really, 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 really good. I was in the upper, so when you're higher up, you get a little bit more of a tactical view of the game. And players like Florian Wirtz, and actually, any time I was in the upper main watching Firmino, you really appreciated him a lot more. And it's obviously not very different players, but different positions and different sort of eras of Liverpool. But I think this guy's going to be a serious handful for anyone who comes up against this season. Everything good we do first half comes through him. A lot of it comes through Ekitike as well, but everything comes through him at some point. Whether it's one touch, popping it off, whether it's finding a little bit of space. There's a time first half under a little bit of pressure and he just turns and wins the foul, takes all the pressure off us, and he's unlucky not to score as well. And that's actually against a direct opponent in Adam Wharton, who's probably one of the best he'll come up against this season. Because I think he's a fantastic footballer, Wharton. I think second half he's best player on the pitch, actually. But I think that's a tough test for Wirtz. He's going to come up. He's going to get more space than that in certain games, and that's going to be frightening for anyone who comes up against him. The one point I would say, well, sort of 2 points that we have to consider. I take the point that he is box to box, but he doesn't cover as much ground as Dominic Szoboszlai. So for the two behind him, it's a different set of instructions acting as a two when you've got Wirtz as your 10 than Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai's going to do a lot of your running for you, and I thought the two midfielders behind him, whether it was McAllister and Endo who come on or the two who started, couldn't really get near Palace a couple of times, and they do have runners in there and, like I say, one of the best technical players in Wharton. So that's something we need to consider. How do the two in midfield play with Wirtz playing in the 10? And then when Ekitike goes off, the first thing we do is we put Wirtz into the sort of front two. And I understand is it two number 10s, is it two number 9s? Depends how you frame it. But it went from Florian Wirtz playing in between the lines to Florian Wirtz being the line, being part of the line. And we really struggled to build up ever since that. So I'm not really convinced with the two up front or the two number 10s. We've only seen it a couple of times. It works at City last season. But yeah, we definitely need another number 9 to come in so Wirtz can keep doing his thing if Ekitike is not firing or not fit.
It was interesting, and if you don't mind, Adam, we'll bring it up on for those watching. You will see his heat map there for those listening. Alex Rabbit. He is very, very left in terms of most of he gets the ball. It's like a left hand side of the midfield almost role. He actually gets dropped in deep a few times. I think he was getting really annoyed at the fact that they had a back 3 and 2 in front of him. He was like, he had to almost go and get the ball at the centre backs. I don't know if you want him doing that'll time will tell. But in terms of, again, I don't know if this is a specific Crystal Palace game plan. It's just the players that we had on the pitch. But it felt like Wirtz, Ekitike, Gakpo, Kerkez, Szoboszlai was all very left central, and the only time really the ball went wide right was when it was diagonal to Frimpong. So nothing of Salah at all. Salah didn't play well, but he got the ball given to him. It was that's unusual for Liverpool really, because we're just used to a lot of a bit more balanced than that, whether it would be Diaz or Gakpo on the left and then loads of Salah. This kind of ties into me Frimpong point really with Salah. It does feel like there's work to be done on that side with those two, because they kind of both wanted to be in the exact same place, which was chalk on your boots. So while everything was being filtered down the left, there's defo this balance of side didn't quite feel right for me, and the fact that we almost had to negate the right hand side of our attack, which is where our best player still plays.
No, absolutely that, yeah, and I think this is what will need to be sort of ironed out over the coming weeks, because this is still work in progress, this new look Liverpool, if you like, isn't it? And I think the patterns of play will need that tweak, because to not have or to isolate Mohamed Salah in any game of football feels criminal somewhat, because I don't think he had his best game when he did get opportunities to show what he's all about yesterday. But I think in the first half, at one point the commentator made a point, he had like 7 touches towards the end of the half or something like that. He
made the same touches in the first 10 minutes of the second half than he did in the whole of the first half.
And that isn't Mohamed Salah being shy about coming looking for work and wanting to be on the ball, like, you know what I mean? That's just him not getting the service or us not drifting over to that side anyway enough. And I think that's become, obviously you mentioned some of the names there, that's because all those players, their preference is to be over in the left hand side channel. That's where they do their best work. And Andy's point about Wirtz being between the lines and operating best in there is absolutely right. Like, that's why the whole Wirtz, Firmino comparisons, false number 9 stuff was a non-starter for me from the get-go. I just don't see it. I think there'll be moments in games again where maybe you can do something like that, or your hand might be forced because someone's had to go off or whatever, but you want Wirtz being your 10. That's where he's at his absolute...
You pay £120 million for a 10, he plays in
his best position, don't you know what I mean? That's what he is for me. So, yeah, it was an interesting one. Again, these are all learnings that we'll have to take from it, and again, work on the training ground about how we can best serve the likes of Mo Salah and indeed Frimpong, because he's clearly a threat as well over on that side. But, yeah, I think there was definitely loads and loads of positives. The names we're talking about now, in particular, I think, to Lewis's point as well, Florian Wirtz's unnoticed pressing and unnoticed off-the-ball stuff, because I saw it a lot in pre-season. Yeah. I took for granted, actually, because I've been told by a few people that he will work his socks off for you, not as much as Dom, but don't forget about that, because people kind of went, well, we're just buying this, quite creative lad with loads of guile who's got an eye for a pass, eye for goal. But yeah, he works, he presses, he will do that dirty work too. So yeah, again, I'm not overly concerned, but I do think Arne Slot will come away from that and look at Salah's inactivity in the game and go, we probably need to get the ball to him.
It's also worth, because someone says here, like, MMA for Salah was crap. And
he was a bit when he got...
No, at times he was, but it's hard... I'm just looking at Mo Salah touches throughout the game. Mo Salah touched the ball 26 times. Mo Salah always gives the ball away, but usually, sorry, I brought that up there again, sorry. So there, if you look, Mo Salah touches 26, 13 of 20 passes, so 65%. That's kind of what Mo Salah usually does, Andy, because he tries things and he will give the ball away. But if he only touches the ball 26 times in 90 minutes, and he gives it away, that's what you're going to remember in your head, you know what I mean? That's the difference. You want Mo Salah touching the ball double the amount of times than that, and Liverpool are going to have to figure that out, because I go back to it, when the ball went out wide to Frimpong, he was so far wide, Salah was right in front of him, and all he could do was give it to him there, and Salah's boxed in already. There's a bit of, I don't know, lack of cohesion, just stuff to work on.
Toes a little bit, those
because you don't want Mo Salah touching the ball 26 times. That's just not enough for your best player to be on the ball, really.
Well, the interesting thing about Salah is when he's not in form, he's not really involved.
No.
He is anonymous in some games when he's not playing well. He's not like a Darwin Nunez, where when he has a bad game, he's missing 9-10 chances. Salah doesn't do that. So if Salah gets the chances, he scores them. It's whether he gets them or not constitutes for me whether he's had a good game. And if you remember the start of 22-23, we completely changed his role and he was hugging the touchline. And the theory behind that was that he's creative and we want to tap into that playmaking ability. But sometimes football is quite a simple game and you want Mo Salah closer to the goal. Now, I wonder if the way in which we're playing Florian Wirtz is to sort of drag the opposition out towards our left and free up a little bit more space for Salah on the right. It doesn't come off yesterday from that perspective because we don't see Salah involved or getting chances, but maybe it's something they can work on. I thought Wirtz would do a little bit more work on the right and actually drag a few players away from Salah to give him a little bit more space. So there is options there, and you've got the absolute perfect player in Florian Wirtz to create the space for Mo Salah, because that's what he does best, and Mo Salah with space is gonna still be frightening for anyone in the league. But yeah, I don't think a charity shield is where you're going to see Mo Salah at his burning, most passionate best, and at his most driven best. I think that will maybe be on Friday night. You'll see a little bit more of that. And if he's as anonymous on Friday night as he was yesterday, then I'll start to worry.
Yeah, there's definitely something with Salah at Wembley. He doesn't have his best. He doesn't really have his best games at Wembley, does it? So before we move on, because Salah was part of my next discussion, we've kind of touched upon it there. A couple more quick points. Frimpong, Lewis. Defensively, I had no worries about Frimpong going forward, really, because we saw that with his. I know it's a bit of a fluke goal, but the way he makes it for himself with his pace and he makes it up. But actually, quite defensively, he more than held his own. And what I've seen with him is, and we saw it yesterday in abundance, the ability to recover. The recovery pace is going to bail him out of so many issues, because he will get caught up the pitch sometimes. He's an attacking player, and Liverpool at this moment look a bit vulnerable in transition. you're going to need somebody to get back. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, whether people said it was lack of desire, he was never quick, Trent, whether he could be or wanted to be, I don't know, but he didn't see him when he was running back. Frimpong was the exact opposite. Like, he sprints back rapid, and that's going to bail Liverpool out. You would guess a few times this season.
And you know what? It takes extra ability for the fact that when he does sprint back at the speed he doesn't just lunge in or fly in. He just puts himself in the right spot. It's like he can go a million miles an hour and then just halt to a dead stop in a second. But they made an interesting point in commentary yesterday where they were saying, right, Trent Alexander-Arnold doesn't do what Frimpong's doing. He doesn't get to as far forward as he is. He doesn't really come inverted the way he was. If it was him, he'd stay further back, put a ball into the box. Frimpong's going further up the pitch, wider maybe, in a more attacking position, and he's still able to track back better than Trent was. And I do think you touched on it there. I do think it was perhaps maybe a lack of desire. Maybe it's just he couldn't match that kind of intensity tracking back the way Frimpong is. But I thought he was a credit yesterday. Whether you the goal cross or not, people were debating that. It's obviously a cross, let's be honest here. But he had a fantastic match, and it's really refreshing to see someone as aggressive down that right hand side. And it's not a knock on Trent because he was brilliant, obviously, what he did on that position, but just the electric energy of Frimpong. If I was a defender in the opposition team and he was coming at me, I'd be terrified because he's so good. When he's actually going inside, he's causing issues. Staying out wide, he's got a great delivery on him. There is one or two little moments where on the counter, despite his speed, I'd rather someone who's a bit more positionally placed to deal with it sooner rather than it getting onto the edge of our box and then him having to sprint into that position to cause a tackle. But overall, solid performance so far from the pre-season from him.
The last one I want to touch upon in terms of this good category, I'll come to you, Dan. We kind of spoke about it a little bit off air, but like Alisson Becker has had no pre-season whatsoever. He's been injured and then obviously he had to fly home for personal reasons from the tour. He makes two massive saves. I'm just looking at his stats. There's a one where he runs out and clears the danger as well when it looks like Palace might score there. He gets so unlucky, unfortunately, because Van Dijk gives that far away because another vintage Alisson Becker one-on-one performance. He was good with the ball in the air. He had one little drop, but he managed to get down and pick that one up straight away. Penalties, I don't think it's his forte per se, saving penalties, but he does save one. He guesses the right way on the other one. It's just a good penalty. Like, yeah, Liverpool needed their goalkeeper again, which is a concern going forward, and we're going to speak about the defence in a moment. But like, yeah, they conceded two, but without that fella, it could have been 4 or 5.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I'm sure he would have liked to have a quieter afternoon, given how inactive he's been in recent times. There's actually a school of thought heading into yesterday that we might not even have seen him. It might have been Mamardashvili because he has missed such a large chunk of pre-season, particularly recently. But no, I thought he was excellent, as you come to expect from Alisson Becker. Really, let's be honest. He is the best goalkeeper in the world. We had a big chat about his penalty saving prowess, or otherwise off air, and I've never been completely in love with Alisson Becker as a goalkeeper when it comes to penalty shootouts in particular. It feels like it isn't necessarily his strongest suit. That's probably one-on-ones, as you allude to the moment there. Yeah, I think there are better goalkeepers in world football, considering he is, in my opinion, by some distance the best around, the best in the business. I'd like his penalty saving prowess to stack up alongside that, but it doesn't. It just falls short.
I've got a theory. He's a very front foot goalkeeper. Alisson makes the saves by getting in your face.
Yeah.
Alisson
isn't having to be 12 yards.
Yeah, exactly. He's not an on your line shot stopper. He just isn't. The best, like, Alisson's way of stopping you score, he gets in front, he stays big as long as he can.
It's the timing
and the
decisions he makes,
and he can't do that on penalties. You're not allowed to move anymore. You're stuck on your line. The one he waits for Eze, and he goes and gets it. The rest of them, it just doesn't suit his game. But listen, I'd rather have the best goalie in the world, and he doesn't say penalty.
We all split hairs, and there aren't many in world football better than him. As much as I sit here and say I don't think he is the absolute elite, but there aren't many around.
I think the record,
the
shootout record. It's different to find stats for, but like he saved 8 and conceded 25 in league games. That's throughout his entire career, including internationals in Italy. So he's all right. But I see your point. It's not his strong point.
I always look, and we don't particularly like Donnarumma would be the one we'd look to.
Emi Martinez, mate. Emi Martinez is brilliant.
Also, yeah, it's fair. But listen, he has an excellent game, all told. And again, given the lack of football, the lack of training he's had in the past few weeks, it bodes really, really well. And with hindsight, having said the Mamardashvili thing and made up it was Alisson, because now he's got 90 plus minutes in his legs ahead of whatever that means for a keeper, ahead of next Friday. I
thought he was fantastic.
Gloves.
Yeah, good minutes in the gloves. They got well tested. I thought he had a really good game. Right then, that was the good. Let's talk about the bad. Defensively, I'll start with you, Andy. I don't know if it's individual players playing poorly or there's a structural issue, but Arne Slot mentioned after the game, like, Liverpool have conceded goals all through pre-season. He mentioned the teams by name except Yokohama, we couldn't remember who they were. But like Liverpool have conceded a lot. He said like, we might not be conceding tons of chances, but we're conceding quite a few goals. Like I say, I don't think Virgil his best game obviously gives the penalty away. A bit out of position for the second one. It looks more structural than individual howlers, though. I thought last year when Liverpool conceded goals, transition was a bit of a problem at times, and it's quite easy sometimes. I felt that some of the goals were quite easy. It felt a little bit like that yesterday at times. Mateta was through on goal before that penalty and really should have scored. Yeah. And then the goal that gets given is it's one tackle on the edge of your box and the guy's in 4 yards of space. I'm not quite sure Liverpool have got it right yet in terms of all pre-season really. There's a little bit of a vulnerability there.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a bit of an issue with the line. A couple of times yesterday, there are a few screenshots going around on social media showing Virgil, he steps out. There's one where Frimpong's a little bit deep. They're obviously all still getting used to each other. It's a new back line and it will take time. And you mentioned transitions there, that we've been weak on those. You're playing against one of the best transition teams in the league. And the other thing is you have to give real credit to Crystal Palace yesterday. They're not the 12th best team in the league. They're better than that. In the second half of the season, they're sort of right up there in terms of form. They don't lose in their last 8, including coming to us and going to Arsenal. And the way they play, they want to pop it off and get it into those wide players fairly quickly. And one of those wide players is Munoz, and he causes us issues yesterday. And people have been picking out Kirkes a little bit in terms of his performance. I thought Kirkes was excellent yesterday. I've seen a few people saying he was poor. I've watched it back and I think the same thing. I think it's just the way Palace play. We've said that we're not going to let them dictate how we play as well. So in terms of if you want to nullify Daniel Munoz, you can just stick Kirkes on him and have him play as an out-and-out left-back, but then you're not getting the best out of Kirkes. So there's an element of, yes, we do have to suffer when there's a turnover here. They will get the ball out wide, they will get the ball out wide quickly, and we will have to get over and sort of do a little bit of panic defending, which we don't necessarily do well a couple of times. But I thought, there were a lot of sort of positives from especially the two fullbacks, and people have been using it as a bit of a stick to beat this sort of centre halves with and saying this is why we need another centre half in. I agree we need another centre half in, but not because of yesterday, because even if we get Mark Gahey in, those will be the two that are playing most of the time. They are our first two centre halves and neither of them play particularly well. So again, are they overly exerting themselves because it's a bit of a pre-season game? Are they getting themselves ready for next week? Like I said before, if Virgil and Konate play like that next Friday or away to Newcastle or at home to Arsenal, then we can start worrying. But plenty for them to look at, analyse and work on.
I think, Dan, on the Kirkes thing, like a lot of people just say, big switch over to the right, fella on his own, your left back's wrong or out of position. Yeah. If you watch all of those things, Kirkes is exactly what he's meant to be. Liverpool accept the fact that might happen, and it's the job of the pressers or the people in midfield to stop that long ball happening. So I think I agree with what Andy says. My thing on Kirkes at times, he's a little bit rash. The one that he almost injures himself on, he does fly in. He has got a touch of Moreno. He had that at Bournemouth as well.
He's got Moreno with a brain. That's how I described it.
He'll fly in, which sometimes you might not need him to. But that's why I go back to my last point. If it was just players playing poorly, I think you're all right with that. Because that'll change. Actually, I do think there's a little bit of a structural issue at the back. The space is too big between the centre halves and the midfield too often. Palace play long balls, knowing that they might not win them, but they'll pick up the seconds, and you've got to be better. And like I say, if you're going to be a compact back four, which is absolutely fine, but when you're against wing backs, that ball over there, it's almost your wingers' responsibility, and we just don't ask our wingers to cover that. So Liverpool. That's what I think Arne Slot needs to work on more. If it was just Van Dijk had a stinker, and we can see, and which he did, by the way, he didn't play well, but you can kind of rectify that in your head. You go, Virgil, 1 out of 10 will have a bad game like that. You can get your head around it. It's actually, I think it's a bit more concerning that I think there's a bit of a structural problem with this team. They're still getting used to each other, and they're still getting used to this new formation, because it's definitely a 4-2-3-1, as much as Arne Slot says it's not. And that's my worry, is that, they're going to have to work at this. I think it bodes well that there's not that many games between now and the break, where there'll be a lot of time spent on the training pitch. There's 10 days between Bournemouth and Newcastle, but it does look like against Bournemouth, it'll be hard to rectify it all in 5 days, so they're going to have to pull the fingers out a little bit.
No, absolutely. We've seen it, haven't we, now? We can almost get carbon copies of that, the goals that we conceded, and indeed just the chances and the way teams want to attack us. And again, credit to Crystal Palace yesterday because they exposed and exploited it excellently well, which didn't really shock me because I think they're a very well managed and coached team with some high quality operators in there too. But yeah, from our perspective, I think it's a combination of things really. I think it is because we want to hurt teams and we want to play football matches on our terms. Therefore, we do have to sort of take risks and take gambles with the starting positions of some of these players, and that allows someone like Munoz yesterday to have the freedom of seemingly our final third, which we run into, which was alarming the amount of times it happened, I feel, because although, again, that's kind of part of the game plan, that's kind of how we want Kirkez to operate. When Munoz is getting that much freedom, you do have to go at some point, fucking, it's going to hurt us at some point, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I do think it is just the way, and we might have to get used to it a little bit. It's interesting because whilst that was a very new backline yesterday, with a new right back, new left back, obviously centre halves remain, there is a case to be made for Liverpool reverting to a more familiar one, because you could easily just go, Conor Bradley's not available right now, so maybe not, but Robertson could come in and it does look more similar, and maybe we might have to grin and bear that once or twice, well, whilst we do get more used to and accustomed to the new guys and they learn the roles and what have you. But yeah, I don't think there's anything to over panic about or over analyse necessarily. I'm sure Arne Slot will be having words with his backroom staff and maybe tweaking one or two things, and maybe it is more dependent and reliant on the midfield getting across to help, because I don't think they did that necessarily brilliantly yesterday. I think a lot of the defensive structure covered itself in glory, from being honest, from a collective or indeed individual point of view. I think there was definitely improvements to be made in there. But yeah, I'm not over panicking about it either, because I do think we will be better off trying to attack teams with all the attacking exploits that we have and all the attacking players that we have than we will be allowing Kirkez to do a man-for-man job on anyone necessarily.
And Virgil said, Virgil into after the game, he said, yeah, we know. He said he's not worried, so Virgil isn't worried. I won't be worried. He was more worried that we need an attacker, which is definitely an interesting one. So we've done the good, the bad, like I say, the balance in general. Lewis seemed a little bit off. It also doesn't help. And we mentioned before, as good as the attacking play was at times, it was the new guys really who were influencing that. Yeah. We touched upon Salah and Gakpo a little bit. Neither of those really performed at their best as well. Which again, if you're looking for the Liverpool team, we did the ranking show yesterday, and where people voted, most people had a lot of Liverpool's team was under par. Yeah. And that's just where, who knows, there could be fitness reasons, it could be Palace just did them, it could be whatever it was, but there was a lot of meh performances really across the board. We spoke about the good ones, but everybody else pretty much was a little bit
Yeah, but that happens. Look, it could have just been a bad day at the office, and I think it is just a culmination of everything. Tactically it was wrong, they looked not shattered, but they just didn't look up to full fitness yet. It is a little bit concerning purely on the fact of it took all the new lads to galvanise us to actually get to that 2-2 draw just to get into penalties, and one of the goals was a bit of a fluke. So there is a cause for concern there, but having said that, like Van Dijk said, there's nothing to be concerned about. The penalty given away is just an individual error. The second goal, yeah, you can say positionally he was in the wrong spot, but it's not like we had an absolute shambles of a match. We didn't get battered. That first half, we were the better team. We just, like I said, when Ekitike went off, we lost all attack and impetus. There was a lot of energy lost in midfield. They just got the better of us, and Adam Wharton in particular really dictated play in midfield against us. And thankfully, Alisson never saved us, but that happens. Towards the end of last season, it happened even before we'd won the league. We lost to Fulham, we struggled against Leicester, we struggled against West Ham, Southampton. Like, this just happens.
Just on that, sorry, they're quick. Did we, I'm reticent to say shut up shop, because that isn't in our nature, but go into Endo much earlier than we did. And then maybe that's just because of the understrength bench.
I was about to say that his bench didn't know favours.
Because we were all speaking, and rightly so, by the way, about Hugh Ekitike and his going off. Was kind of the wheels coming off with it somewhat, and that might be overstating it a bit. But when you look at the bench, there was some quality on there, of course there was, but there's a massively inexperienced on there. We didn't even turn to a couple of it, you know what I mean? And maybe it shouldn't surprise us so much that as we turned to the bench, we got significantly weaker. Palace grew into the game and got better, seemingly, whereas we just faded completely. And by the end, you know, they could have won it with the last kick of the game. That Devaney ends up scoring the actual winning, but they could have been out of sight at that point. So, yeah, maybe it shouldn't surprise us massively. The first half we were purring, not firing all cylinders, but close to it and looking really, really sharp. Certainly in attack, I thought we were excellent at times. But second half, we just lost our way, and then the bench lads come on and we lose our way even more. So maybe it should be a huge shock.
See, it was weird because I thought McAllister is not fit.
No,
so that's an issue, and I got to deal with that on Friday. I thought Endo was good. I think there's a justification for starting him on Friday. I really do.
You said that earlier on.
I think there's a justification for the players on Friday. While we're all at sea at the minute and everyone's out and about, there's no Gravenberg. I think there's no idea. There's just the Endo in the middle.
It's not a bad shot,
and just kick a few people. I thought
Curtis Jones played.
He did okay, Jones.
Yeah.
Curtis was just like, you forgot he was playing. He didn't get the ball away once in terms of passes. He 100%. And like he got caught out a couple of times, but yeah, I think there's again. I go back to the structural thing. There's nobody in that midfield whose first thought is sniffing danger. They're all very. Yeah. I say we're a very optimistic team. We just presume everything's going to go right. Where Endo's the fella who takes a first aid kit on a hike. You know what I mean? Because he just presumes that something might go wrong where everyone else is just taking bevies and sarnies. And I think there's a little bit of that in it as well. Where we're a bit too creative or too progressive. Liverpool taught Ryan Gravenberg to that last season, and he got better at it, but he still isn't quite there. So there might be something in that. But yeah, overall, it's again disappointing, and we'll move on to the I call it the ugly. And it was the penalties. We've got a super chat here from Mohammed who says, actually, Salah has scored 52 of his 63 pens and 11 of 12 last season. And on the big occasions, I still think he should take them. And I think, listen, he's missed 2 now in friendly games effectively. But overall, that pen shootout, if the other team missed 2 penalties out of 5 and you lose, it's a bit of a kick in the balls. And like I say, I thought McAllister's was a decentish pen and a good save. The 2 that they missed were bad pens. Like they're really, really poor penalties from both Harvey and Mo.
Yeah, I think Harvey wants to have his big moment before what looks likely is he's going to go. So we don't probably need to worry about that anymore. With Salah, I remember actually sitting here 3 years ago. He missed against Bournemouth and then he missed against Arsenal the next week. Both were off target, 2 in a row. And I remember we had the conversation of, do we take him off them? And it's understandable. A lot of managers change penalty takers after a penalty taker misses 1. Never mind 2 in a row. But I think since that point, he's taken 24 penalties, scored 21, and one of the ones that he missed, he scored the rebound. So that's 87.5% up to 92 if you count the rebound one. That is significantly better than most penalty takers, if not all, in the league. It wouldn't even surprise me with Salah, given that one game was in pre-season and one was is it not pre-season? If he was just trying something a little bit different, his run-up looked a little bit different.
It was yesterday.
And I wonder, is he trying something a bit different, thinking, right, I'm going to just try and put these right in the top corner, and he's maybe going to realise now that in pressure situations, maybe he's just going to be a little bit safer.
You've got a better chance of scoring if you kick it at the goal, Mo.
It's easy.
Yeah. I'm not a stats guru, but I think you've got to get your pens on target.
So
it's easy to rip into him when you lose the game. When you lose the match and he misses a penalty, then it's easy for everyone to just rip into him. But if it had gone the other way, I don't think many people would.
What I would say is they were just shit. He had 2 penalties in the last week and they've both been.
And when he misses, he misses. That Bournemouth game, and I'm not sure that's landed yet. That was flying. You know what I mean? So, and let's be brutally honest. People won't thank me for this, but technically, when he's not the purest of ball strikers I've ever seen down the Asian. I mean, I've never been completely at ease. It is often like, I'm going to hit this as hard as I can, and providing it's on target, it's going to take some stopping. That seems to be his method. He actually last season, I felt like he started placing them a little bit more and started picking his spot a bit, but by and large, whilst his record is outstanding, it is save this, mate, or get in the way if you dare a little bit for most.
If you don't know where it's going, how's the keeper?
His pen shootout record's actually really good.
It's phenomenal. It's
just one of them. But like I say, the overall thing, to move on very slightly quickly, boys, is like 2 penalty shootouts in a row that Liverpool have lost, and there's been poor penalties in all of them, really. The Jones and the Nunez ones were pretty average penalties. Salah and Elliott yesterday. McAllister, I thought, I know you disagree with McAllister.
I just think he's underhit it.
I think it's
McAllister.
Yeah, a little bit. Elliott did both. But at least if you're going to underhit it, he is going for the corner, and I think Henderson does well to save that. But you are right, it's probably a little bit weaker than he would have liked it to be. But like I say, Liverpool now in 2 penalty shootouts, was it 3 goals out of 8 kicks at the goal, and the ones that have missed, like I say, McAllister's the only one really that you can make even a little argument that he was unlucky. The others have been a bit crap. Like, I wouldn't, maybe they need to start, practice penalties, because if you look at the team, the 5 who took them, I'm okay with. Maybe you could argue over Virgil for Elliott, but whatever. But like, we've got good penalty takers in the team. So yeah, that's 2 in a row now, down where we've been Well, shit, basically. You can't,
Yeah,
can't sugarcoat it, can you?
Can't, no. And there are dead ball specialists in amongst them, as you rightly referenced there, and there's penalty takers for the national team. Szoboszlai is on everything, isn't he? For Hungary, he scores free kicks every single international break. So there is no rhyme or reason as to why in the last two shootouts, one of them very high profile, very high pressure, the more recent one not so much, that we have just not really turned up. If you can not turn up in a penalty shoot, I've been really, really underwhelmed, disappointed by the quality that we've delivered from an Alisson perspective. I'll say it again, and indeed a taking perspective, because I think Alisson could have saved 1 or 2 in the PSG one, maybe not yesterday necessarily, but he didn't really get close on either of them, the one that he saved. So
Sobos was good.
Sobos was good, and I backed him to the hilt, really, because of the reason I just outlined there. But I'd have done the same for Salah. I'd have done the same for Alexis in particular. So, yeah, disappointing, I think. And if we are going to, we will have aspirations of going deep into every single competition, particularly the cup ones where penalty shootouts are prevalent, then, yeah, maybe, I'm not sure if a rethink's necessary. As Andy alludes to, Harvey might not be around to be part of those lineups either. I'm a little bit surprised Virgil wasn't in the first 5, if I'm being really honest as well. I think he, as the captain and as somebody with that one penalty record from being at Wembley, I think he maybe should be wanting to step up and set the tone and set the example a little bit, and I'd have him above Harvey anyway.
He missed for Netherlands, didn't he, that time? And I think since then he's
played
been
on his mind.
I don't know. I don't get the order thing. I still maintain this. I know all the stats people in the world, and I'm not. I go through. I'm not a stats guy. The idea that your best penalty takers go 1-3-5. I think that's what you try and roughly do. That wasn't Liverpool's order yesterday for a start. Szoboszlai never misses. So I'm going to issue Salah as your pen taker number 1. McAllister 2 is fine. I think then it should be probably Szoboszlai. And then Gakpo scored a good one, by the way. Yeah. I think saving Szoboszlai for 5, I would say he's a better penalty taker than Harvey Elliott. I understand it's about pressure and moments, but if, by the way, if that lad doesn't hit the bar, Szoboszlai doesn't even get to take his.
Yeah, it could be over.
It could be over before you even get there. Once Alisson had made that save, you really need that next one to go in. Just to get a bit of momentum back into the whole. As soon as Elliott misses, it's like, for fuck.
You're also on the pitch at that point. Obviously, we mentioned the ones who haven't taken, obviously, Taro
the 2 full-backs.
Robertson, Frimpong, Canate.
There's only Virgil.
Gakpo took one, didn't he?
Gakpo took one,
It's Enzo on the back 4. Yeah. Who didn't take one, which again, that's probably what you want. In theory, again, it's just a Virgil argument. But
I genuinely, and I know I'm playing the Charity Shield down a lot today, and people may think it's because we've people may think it's because we've lost it, and there is an element of it. Like, I was pretty down for about half an hour coming out of the ground yesterday before I got a Mackey's into me, but I think there's probably an element of which, like, literally Harvey's been like, let me take one. This is my last game. He's really, fine, go for it.
No,
I struggle with that. I'm sorry.
And also, he should take one. He's an attacking midfielder. He should take one.
Not if he's not in your best 5 penalties.
He might be.
He's not Virgil.
Elliot's record. I think Elliot's record.
Sentimentality that if it was PSG in the European Cup.
But you're making different arguments. Andy's making the argument that he'd done it out of sentimentality.
I'm doing out the idea that Elliot's record's better than Virgil's, I think. Elliot's taken them for the 21s and scored. We scored for Liverpool in a shootout before twice. Like, Elliot's record's all right.
Yeah,
it's just.
I'm not. If he was
it was just a fucking crap pen. And if that's the base, and that can happen.
The only thing I'd say about the dismissing of the community show yesterday's result, whether he's saying it to the cameras, whether he's playing to the gallery or not, you look at Virgil post-match, disappointed. It's not in our nature. These people don't get to where they are, and this is very much my mantra of life and professional sport. You don't get to where you are by wanting to lose anything, cutting sausage, you know what I mean? So they will be disappointed. That will have stung for more than the half an hour than it stung you. And I get it, ultimately, I do absolutely get it. Like, it didn't bother me necessarily. But as a group, as a squad, as a management team, they will be a bit pissed off by yesterday and losing, because again, come back to, you don't want to lose anything. I think the early pre-season games are completely centred around fitness. When you're making 11 changes at half-time, that is somewhat of a farce. That is solely centred around getting lads up to speed. I think the Community Shield, whilst again it has got its flaws and we do degrade it a little bit, I do think they would have been desperate to win yesterday, and desperately disappointed that they didn't.
Absolutely, I think you're spot on there, mate. Right then, we're going to knock the Community Shield on the head there, and we'll never speak about it again, because I can't. Who gives a fuck? No,
well, by the way, don't we, like, no one wins?
Yeah,
29% of Community Shield winners.
I think the last is like City, the only ones like in the last 10 years.
The last 29%, only 29% of the Community Shield winners have gone on to win the league.
It's a Bob Paisley code, isn't it? Don't care if we win it as long as we're in it next year.
I think we said that last week, didn't we? Someone was like, it's a friendly if you lose, and it's a cup if you win.
Let's lose next year's as well. It'll be absolutely fine. Right then, we're going to take a quick break, after which we're going to be talking about transfers, Liverpool squad depth in certain areas, and all that good stuff. So stick around, we'll be back in about a minute. Hey everyone, how would you like to win this? Hold it up for them, Errol. This is a Liverpool shirt signed by two icons of the football club, Steve McMahon and Ronnie Whelan. Medals and trophies galore. At the end of August, we'll be giving that shirt away to one of our Redmen Plus Legend subscribers. If you want to be in the draw to win that, and every single month we do these sign competitions as well, head on over to redmenplus.com, become a Legend subscriber, you'll be in the draw. If you are one of our Captain subscribers, simply upgrade your account, become a Legend, and at the end of August, Errol, someone will be winning what is an absolute beauty, isn't it?
Yeah, we love this.
redmenplus.com, become a Legend. Yes, welcome back. Before we get into the transfer stuff, just want to give you guys a quick note about our sponsors for this season, oosh.co.uk. If you want to win an Audi RS6 for free, you don't even have to pay to enter the competition. There's a link in the description of the show, both on YouTube and on the podcast service that you're listening to as well. Click the link. Literally put your details in, and on August 15th you might win an Audi RS6 or £50,000 in cash. So yeah, get yourselves involved. Completely free. Doesn't if you don't win, you don't win sound, but you can't win. You literally cannot win that car if you don't enter it. I've been in the car, Dan. We were there together. We're not car guys, really, but even we were impressed by it. It's a beauty.
It takes a lot for me to be impressed by a car. I'll be honest with you. It's not my bag at all.
Can it just drive me to where I need to go?
Ultimately, yeah, that's literally it. But I was somewhat impressed by this car, so that tells you all you need to know. Yeah,
get yourselves involved. Thanks to Oosh for our sponsor. There's a QR code on the screen now, so if you scan that, it'll take you to where you need to get to. But yeah, click the link. Why not? Why not? Worst case is you don't win it, and you're exactly where you are right now, having not spent about 5 seconds putting a few details into a website. The plus is you might win said car or 50 grand.
What would you take?
The car, I think.
Would you?
I think it's worth more than 50 grand.
No, it is, but I'm taking it 50.
I don't know how that works.
Trying to sell it would be a nightmare.
Yeah, I'd have to read the T&Cs.
Is Auto Trader sort of thing?
Yeah, just get it straight to We Buy Any car and see. I don't know, but I think I'd do that one anyway. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, Kat says I'd love an RS6. Well, Kat, only one way to win it. Get yourself in the link below us. Don't do it now. I mean, you can pause us and do it, and then come back to it. Don't end the show because there is some hot transfer talk to be had. Starting with which, Andy Bell, are you throwing a party? Liverpool officially sold Darwin Nunez, and I think it's fair to say you were never Darwin's biggest fan. We get loads of comments on here when we have a little go at Nunez or certain people criticise him, but I think it's fair to say you were quite happy to see.
I may or may not have cracked the tin open on Friday night.
Bless him.
Listen, I'll be fair. He has given us some big moments and some good moments. Highlights are obviously the one against Newcastle. I mean, down to 10 men, getting battered, and he comes on and scores twice, 2 brilliant finishes. The Brentford moment this season is a turning point because at that time Arsenal could have gone a point behind us. It ended up 7, and I do think that Nunez's goals that day had an impact on Arsenal's performance later that day. So he has played his part in the league win this season. I do think he's been a net detriment to us over the last 3 years, I have to be honest. He was never good enough for me, and that's fine. Players come in, they aren't good enough. It's not necessarily their fault. The thing I struggled with was the mentality. Alarm bells were ringing for me when he missed a few chances against United in pre-season, and some children made some edits of it, and he sort of bit on it with resiliencia. I'm like, what are you doing? Get your head down, work hard.
Ironically, getting his head up, got him sent off on his debut.
Did he say that against AC Milan as well?
Well, that was the other thing as well. That was, a real selfish act of putting his own frustrations above the team. We dropped points that day. Don't think we'd have been anywhere near the league title that season anyway. But it's the second game of the season and we're 2 points from 6, so I thought that was quite poor. The managers come out and criticised his attitude last season against Villa, where he gives up and he throws a towel in. And he was never a Liverpool player in terms of quality, but he was certainly never a Liverpool player in terms of mentality. And when I see things like, great guy around the place, we've loved having him, I wouldn't be too kidded on by that either, to be honest.
I suppose the fee itself was to get £46 million roughly back for him. They spent, I think it ended up costing them 70 odd to get him because he didn't quite hit the bonuses. So Liverpool have taken somewhere between 25 and £30 million hit on him. That's over 3 years, so that you can expect that. And it wasn't, like Andy said, it wasn't a wonderfully fruitful 3 years. So they've done all right to get the money back. The question I've got now is, yes, they've cashed in, but they've also cashed in on Luis Diaz. Like, they better have a centre forward or a striker coming. Liverpool's back up front three as we stand right now is Rio and Gamoa, Federico Chiesa and Ben Doak. That's Liverpool's back up front three compared to what last year. And again, listening to the Jota situation, there's nothing. I completely understand that that's out of the hands. It's a tragic accident. But last year, that backup front three might have been Diaz, Nunez, Jota, for example, or however you want to frame it with whatever players are on the pitch. Maybe if you're sticking Jota up front, then it would have been Nunez, Gakpo, for example, Chiesa, which is a much stronger place to be. So, yeah, my guess is it's a really good deal. He wanted to leave. He wanted to leave in January and got a cob on by all accounts when he wasn't allowed to. They've done him business-wise on the financial sheet, getting a combined, over £100 million for Diaz and Nunez feels good. But there is now a Diaz and Nunez hole in the squad that has not been filled yet. Ekitike's in, fantastic. But there's still very much work to do here because that's a gamble. I know, like I say, not everyone's the biggest fan of him, but he was certainly a better option than you would think than like young Ben Doak at this moment in time.
Yeah, no, 100%. And if Slot was hesitant to keep him on for 90 minutes yesterday just because he's worried of an injury, he's not going to play him every minute of every single match the whole season. So there needs to be a plan. And I think so far, I've got very little to doubt that there is one. I feel like the way we've conducted ourselves this summer, step by step, it just feels like we've been very organised. We knew we needed a right back. We knew we needed a left back. We knew we needed a striker, and we've gone out and done it. So if the plan is sell Diaz, sell Nunez, sell all these other lads around them, there will be someone ready-made to come in. Nunez, while it was great, selling him, seeing the back of him is probably for the best. You can't be, I've said it a billion times, you can't be in your third season with us or the fourth now and still have people going, is he good enough? Is he not good enough?
And he wants to go.
You're either good enough, you're not. Like, make the decision. Jota completely out of our hands. No one saw that coming, obviously, and Diaz being sold as well. So I do think there has been a bit of not a change to plans, but I think the Jota situation has probably made the club go, right, we're gonna have to bring in two people now, but they've got to be of good quality. And people are saying Isak, how do you coordinate both of them into the team remains to be seen. I'm not too worried, but I am concerned. The left-hand side to me is a little bit of a worry because Gakpo playing yesterday didn't have a great match. We've seen Ngamoa all pre-season how great he's been. He didn't even get on the pitch yesterday. So if Slot's not favour him in that match where, Community Shield, take it or leave it kind of situation, is he going to play him in a Premier League match where we're struggling against a City or an Arsenal or a Chelsea? Is he going to get game time in those big, crucial match moments which could define your league season? I don't really know.
For me, then it goes back to what I was saying all summer. I have no issue with them selling Darwin Nunez. Absolutely fine. Mm-hmm. I don't think they should have sold Luis Diaz until they had a replacement in for him. Either. I would rather have done it I would have very much done this the other way around. But once they had sold Diaz, to then sell Nunez, like I say, they must have some. We know they're in for Isak, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. Yeah. That's got the potential to A, rumble on, and B, again, according to Luke Edwards' report in the Telegraph, like the Saudis don't want to sell him. Like they're almost like doing what FSG did with Coutinho, but like you are not going. So we'll see how that one wrangles out. So Liverpool, I think Liverpool won the league last season mainly in part for the attacking five options that we had. When two got tired, two maybe not as good, but still really elite or high level Premier League players or good Premier League players coming on. Yeah. Not with all due respect, Chiesa, who the manager clearly doesn't fancy for whatever reason, and then two kids. Like I say, it's in the timing of all this is interesting. It's a little bit the same with centre half. They've let players go, and you just presume they must have something, but actually, I'm not sure they have right now.
No, I tend to agree as well. It's obvious from yesterday and recent times, there's been a lot of repeatable attacks against us. So you do look at it, and Liverpool's Achilles heel right now is defensively, but we shouldn't take our eye off the attacking situation. Nobody has, because the Isak stuff is so front and centre of all of our thoughts. But yeah, if you just boil it down to Darwin out, Isak in, like that's a marked step up, and football's all about levelling up what you've got at your disposal, and Liverpool needs to do that this summer. That would be that if indeed all roads do lead to Liverpool signing Isak. If they don't, then wow, I don't really know what that looks like, really. And
there better be someone else on that list.
I'm not entirely sure who that is right now, because there's been so many taken off the market by other clubs moving, you know what I mean? And Newcastle are scrambling around a little bit, trying to find the alternative to what they've been trying to do with Sesko right now. We don't want to be in that world with a week or whatever to go in the window. That isn't very Liverpool. It's not in our nature to be there at all. And we've been so strategic, to your point about how we've gone about our business. This does feel a little bit removed from that. I'm more comfortable with defensive stuff, because I know Steve Parish commented on the gay thing. I think we'll just end up doing that deal somehow. I think that will just happen naturally over the course of the next few weeks. The centre forward stuff, there's a lot more moving parts to it, obviously, and it is somewhat concerning. And again, it was quite stark yesterday how Arne Slot does and doesn't use the bench, because he hasn't gone to Chiesa once again, clearly showing another sign he doesn't really fancy him in a situation where you need a goal, doesn't even turn to him. And the Rio stuff, I think is a really pertinent point, because I'm a huge admirer of Rio Ngoma. I don't know how many times to say that, I've been saying it forever. But Arne Slot has been quite purposeful about how much he's praised him, but also we need to be calm with him. And then he doesn't bring him on yesterday. I mean, well, how much does he really trust him? How much faith does he have? How much do we want to expose the kid?
A bit of game state as well, in the sense that, last 20 minutes they had control. It's probably not.
But he's probably the perfect one to flip that on his head.
I also think, by the way,
possibly.
It's worth mentioning. I think some of the decisions yesterday might have just been minutes related. They just wanted minutes in certain play. And it's a pre-season game, and we want Gakpo to play 90 minutes no matter. We don't know. I think
if we're genuinely viewing Rio as an option, as we're led to believe, and we are looking in house as him as a solution, like surely 20 minutes of him yesterday wouldn't have gone amiss.
No, I agree. I think Friday's more pertinent on a game that the most important thing on Friday is winning. They might have just said, listen, whatever happens, we need Salah and Gakpo to have 90 minutes in the legs. Like the fitness team might have said that.
Possibly.
Because they're the type of things that happen in pre-season, because it technically is that. But you are right. Listen, either way, you're going from either bringing on Gakpo or Diaz to having only Ngoma really to bring on.
Just on the Diaz thing, so that I've been saying that for a few, but just on the Diaz thing, I think it's also important to remember, because we spoke about Darwin wanting to leave. Diaz was clearly desperate to leave. So maybe Liverpool's hands were, maybe we would rather have done what you said.
Isak wants to leave Newcastle, doesn't he?
No,
they're not selling him until they got a replacement in.
We are clearly in a different situation where we look at it and go, squad harmony, and Diaz has been around for a long time. We are so at ease of what we're trying to do here, and we will bend and flex accordingly, that we allowed Diaz to move on. And who knows how unsettled that situation was behind the scenes. Well, we're not privy to a lot of that. And Diaz might have been, by all accounts, he's been desperate to leave for 9 or 12 months, if not longer. So maybe it did get to a point whereby we just had to sell. Because
we were never going to get that money for him again as well. The age he was and the contract he was on.
I agree with that. I would have taken the hit on the money to have him for another season, personally. Just for the stability. I would have taken the hit. I would have said, okay, next year we're going to get 20 million less for him. We might have to bump his wages up 100 grand, but we're in such a good PSR position. I think we can afford to do that.
But the same Diaz.
That's what I mean. If he doesn't want to be here,
but I think he didn't want to be there because he was on buttons. I think that was an issue.
But you could have.
It could have.
If you just said to him, we're going to give you an extra year on your contract and an extra 20 grand, 50 grand a week. Maybe.
But Liverpool stand to us hard and
exactly,
fast.
Correct. And that's kind of the point. It's a bit of a juxtaposition. I was going to do the order differently, but we might as well touch on Isak now before we talk about other areas, because we're talking about forwards. The latest on him then, compared to last week, every other striker that Newcastle wanted went somewhere else or was going somewhere else. So the Sesko one was the biggest one. It felt like if that domino fell, then maybe there was something to be done with Isak. As it stands, there's conflicting reports coming from the northeast. It looks like he was told he wasn't for sale. That's why he's kicked off. Whether that changes or they're willing to change, I don't know. The latest on them, Dan, is they're looking at Visa and maybe Nicholas Jackson now. With the two that were linked, Samu as well, wasn't it? Yeah, brilliant. Go on,
I actually think they are both.
They are.
Is it Samu, the lad from Porto again? Yeah. So they're clearly in the market for forwards. It feels like at this moment in time, Liverpool's aspirations of getting a striker depend upon Eddie Howe's mate being able to sign some lads for Newcastle, which isn't a wonderful position to be in. So not much actually has changed on the Isak thing, really. It's still status quo. It's interesting. Again, there's talk Liverpool might bid this week, but then I saw Ben Jacobs report and say they're not going to do that because Newcastle don't want them to, basically, until they've got replacements. So it feels like we're in a holding pattern here. It'll be interesting to see, given what we've just said, that Liverpool, we think they might need two. Rodrigo's apparently might be going to Manchester City now, so that's another one off the board. How long Liverpool are willing to wait? And if they don't, what is plan B and C? Because we'd all love Liverpool sign Alexander Isak, respective of what we do elsewhere, which we are going to touch upon. But you can't wait forever, because we can't go into the next season with all due respect to Rio and Doak and Chiesa. That can't be your backup to the front three. It just can't.
Well, as you said earlier on, what served us so well last season was having frontline, senior, established options behind the first three of them, and that isn't the case right now. I like all three of the options you just alluded to, but they're not anything like what we had last time around. So no, it can't be, and to the point, this can't be a situation which Liverpool have done in the past and they haven't been able to get the number one top target and they've just sat and waited till they can. We aren't in that situation right now. We have to act. And I imagine Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards et al. Are a little bit unnerved by the lack of control they've got on this Alexander Isak situation. I'm sure behind the scenes they are still relatively calm about how it's all going to pan out, but when you do start to hear murmurings from the northeast that he isn't for sale and the Saudis are going to hang on at all costs, you do start to think, are we actually going to end up getting the play of it? I'm not sure. I personally think too much has happened for him to be reintegrated into that squad. Some of Eddie Howe's language and his words have suggested that I'm not sure he's convinced.
Both that it might be above his head.
No, of course it
and
might.
This is my point. This is the point where, by all accounts, I think
if he says, I don't want him back, I know that's extreme because he's one of the best footballers in the world, like one of the best.
Why would he say that?
He said something like if he doesn't,
in the squad.
Yeah, he doesn't want people in the squad.
We reintegrated Phil Coutinho and Luis Suarez.
Was it as bad as this?
Yeah, well, he refused to train and he refused to play games.
No, yeah, the back, but like he's gone away, completely missed the pre-season tour, gone and trained on his own in a different country at his former club.
Luis Suarez was training on his own for a bit as well. You can do it, and Eddie Howe might not have been an issue if by all accounts, I remember Jürgen saying it's not, the club would tell me he's not for sale.
But with Suarez is not because we said to him the year before, like, just do this one more season and then we'll sell you. They're not saying that to Isak. They're saying you are here for good.
They have reneged on certain promises around his contract and whatever, which is part of the reason.
I completely understand. By the way, I see your point. What I'm saying is, if those Saudis should go and he's not for sale, then there's nothing Liverpool can do. So there has to be another option. You hope that relents, and you hope that if they can't sign a Vita or a Jackson or something, or whatever they can get in, which, by the way, there's no guarantees because they've been fucking useless at signing players this season. You've got to have other irons in fires. I'll go back to it. It feels like he's the only real name at the moment, Lewis. There was a little bit of Barkley chat. I think as I was on my flight home, I woke up to seeing that when I landed driving in the UK, but that was quickly almost diminished. Rodrigo was spoken about briefly a couple of weeks ago, but it looks like, again, he's very much on City's radar with them maybe losing Savinho. So unless someone just jumps out of nowhere, or you go and hijack Jackson or Visa, which I don't think Liverpool are going to do, there doesn't seem too much noise other than Alexander Isak, which for me is a little bit of a red flag. Yeah,
it's a risky strategy saying it's Isak or bust essentially, but it is true because if you don't get him, who else can you get out there that's sort of a similar level to Ekitike, or that you can rotate around, or has the ability to just get in this team straight away? Because what people seem to get, Klopp was great at he'd take chicken shit and make it into chicken salad. You know, he did it with so many great players that we evolved into top level quality stars. Maybe Slot's not that type of person, and maybe Slot does need someone who's ready-made to come in, who instantly can fit the system. So it's all well and good us saying, okay, just sign the lad from Porto, I can't remember his name, get him in, maybe you'll turn him into a superstar. We're not in a position to be waiting for those superstars. We've got a league to defend, we've got a Champions League to win. We're not in a position now where we can go out and say, right, bring in a young centre-back who's going to turn into a star player. Don't bring in a striker who a year or two down the line he may become a top-level rotation option with Ekitike. If you don't get Isak, who else out there can you even possibly... Barcola links lasted about a day and then they went out the window, so...
Mateta was the other... I think Ekitike is the project striker that we want to develop and turn into something. It's the plug-and-play, the ready-made guy that we need now. Yeah. And that's clearly where Isak... So you aren't even in the same market because all of a sudden you need somebody 3 or 4 years older, ideally Premier League proven. Yeah. And that just doesn't exist to me. Like, there was links very momentarily to Mateta. Yeah. We saw firsthand yesterday. I was like, that's the school, that's the market you're shopping in. So, and it's not a very favourable one.
There's a possibility as well that over Ekitike's last couple of performances, and it is the last couple of performances that he is maybe slightly better than what we thought he would be, and it's not as much of a project. I don't know. I absolutely do think we need to sign another. I think there's a couple of things at play. You've got Eddie Howe, and if you believe what you read, it looks like Eddie Howe wants him out, but the Saudis want to keep him. And ultimately, they do have the final say, but I think Eddie Howe has a lot of credit in the bank there in terms of talking them round on that. And I just think there's a little bit of stage management to all of this. Firstly, I don't think they're going to sell him to us before that game next Monday. So that's still 2 weeks away.
Probably a hurdle we might need to cross.
Of course. Well, I mean, if they're going to sell to us, why do it before that? That significantly strengthens us for their first home game of the season. Yeah. So it makes no sense. I don't think it's going to happen before then anyway. I think they also have to convince their supporters that they did everything and it was taken out of their hands. And
the narrative is shifting on the North East. They are going in on Isak, aren't they?
It is, and there's an article from God love him, Luke Edwards, who gets quite a lot of abuse on the internet. But he's putting out things, and it's coming from the club, that his behaviour is despicable. They're using language like this, which I feel like we never used about the likes of Suarez and Coutinho. And it's very hard to reintegrate a player when you assassinate his character to that extent, regardless of what he's done. And I just think, you know, he's gone from saying a couple of days ago, an article, exclusive, Isak's not for sale, no matter what, he's staying. Yesterday, he's put out only if Newcastle get 2 strikers and 150 million in. So you can see how the narrative's shifting. If they get their 2 players in, they can say, look, we've got our ample replacements, we've got a good fee for him, and we couldn't reintegrate him because of how he's behaving. He's the bad guy. It was out of our hands. And everyone ends up with what they want, I think.
I think it's interesting. Like I say, we're going to talk about all the positions. For me, I think striker, centre-back, I would like... And a winger feels like what Liverpool should be doing. Whether they're going to go and do that and who those names are, I don't know. We'll find out. There's some people might say another DM, although Liverpool have got a lot of midfielders, so there'd have to be some shift in there. And I'm going to talk quickly before we talk about centre backs, though. Just obviously Costas was left out last night. Yesterday, Dan. Paul Joyce reported at the time Forest have been interested. He then went on to say Liverpool are only looking for a permanent move. Maybe suggests there's been a little bit of loan interest, either in him from clubs or from him. That I'd rather just go out on loan for a little bit and see where we're at in a year, because maybe Andy Robbo leaves and I get myself back in. But the idea that Liverpool are going to have 3 senior left backs, all of whom, by the way, I keep going on about this, are non-homegrown in the squad, with Joe Gomez apparently staying around, who very much is an option when he's fit, which again, hit and miss on that one. Someone was always going to have to go. The alarm bell started ringing, I think, for Costas when he was constantly playing centre-back in pre-season. Like, Robertson did it as a fill-in once, but then he was also getting some games at left-back. So Costas, it looks like he's the odd man out. It appears him getting left out yesterday is transfer-related. We'll see if Liverpool can get some type of fee and what type of club want him, really. Yeah,
absolutely that. And listen, the loan stuff's a bit of a non-starter. I imagine from Liverpool perspective, that doesn't benefit us in any way, shape or form, really. So I think a permanent exit would be for the best. And for what my preference was always keep Andy Robertson around, not just in terms of the quality, but just the sheer level of experience 100%. And know-how he brings to the place, and the leadership qualities as well to boot him. There's a lot to be said for Costas and his mindset, his mentality, if you want, about just being desperate to be a Liverpool footballer forevermore. Like, I don't hate it necessarily, but a little bit of me also just thinks, go and play footy, lads. You're actually really good at it. You know what I mean? Go and just be the first choice somewhere at a top level club, probably around Europe somewhere. So
Forest will be interesting, because would he get a game? Is he better than...
Who's their left back? Moreno. But he's gone back to Villa, hasn't he?
Yeah, and they use Nico Williams over there a little bit, but that was obviously shifted from literally one side to the other. So I do think he'd get a game.
You get game. They're in Europe this season as well. So
he probably rung down from the sort of areas where the table we're shopping at, I would suggest.
Well, the fee would be interesting to know what Liverpool, because Liverpool are usually quite good at selling players. I know they got 10. They got 10 million for a month of Trent. So that might be a starting point.
15 million for Tyler Morton, by the way. He's like 12, did he cost? 12.5 for Olympiacos? 15 for Tyler Morton. You're 20 plus, aren't you, for Costas?
I mean, how long's he got left on his contract?
I think he's got a good few years. He signed one not too long ago.
He is 29. It's worth mentioning he's 29. So
if you can get around that 20 mark, I think it'd be a good. Because like you say, we got the amount we did for Morton, and I know it's a different sort of regime, but we've got countless examples in the past of us fleecing teams for players that we really had no right to be doing. And like you said before, keeping Robertson, I think, was important for the back room, but it's also the fact of you're not going to get a lot of money for him, whereas Tsimikas represents a good value of cash that you can get from him. So
I think Kirk has helped with the keeping Robertson angle as well, because literally in his first interview he said, I can't wait to learn off Andy Robbo and have him as a mentor, which again, it speaks volumes of the person that he is. And I think it makes so much sense.
I think if Liverpool got 10 million, he'd probably accept it. I think
really?
I just don't think they're in a position.
This is the club that haggled forever over Nat Phillips.
I know that.
3 left backs.
Remember, they're English players. It's way easier to keep them, because you don't have to worry about registering them on this. You know, they just become one of your 25 players on your list. If
we don't make a profit on them, I'll be shocked.
Maybe we pride ourselves too much in our sales.
10 to 15.
If we get 15, I will bite your hand off.
Yeah, I think they will.
Yeah.
I would take it. Yeah. But I just think we'll end up getting more.
They might. It depends.
Get 12 for Kelleher. Is he a better signing for Forest than Kelleher is for Brentford?
But I think we sold Kelleher for too cheap. We should have got more for him.
Possibly.
And was that just you've served us so well?
We'll see. And ultimately, it's whatever. The money, you're quibbling over a few million. But I think it looks like he's on his way out, which I don't think that isn't one that you need to replace. If anything, Liverpool have got a surplus. So I think they're relatively happy with their left-back situation. That moves on to centre-halves then. Yesterday, Lewis, I'll start with you. Steve Parish confirmed what Mark Gahey he needs to sign a contract or be sold. I think he said we need to come to a solution. I think he said, which hints that one. He went off injured a little bit yesterday, but I think he should be all right. But all the reporting is that Liverpool obviously are in for Mark Gay. There's a quibble about the price. The good news for Crystal Palace in that regard is Chelsea and Newcastle are also again being linked with him. So if they want to drive up a bit of a bid more, and he's not going to sign a new contract unless he says I am only going to Liverpool. Do what you want with that. Then Liverpool might have to get themselves into a bid more, and they might have to go and spend more than the £30 million that they wanted to do, because the Levi Colwill injury has brought Chelsea back into the market. Newcastle always wanted them, although they have just signed Thiaw from AC Milan or close to. So it is interesting that it doesn't appear that Liverpool have got a straight run at Mark Gay anymore, which a few weeks ago it did.
Yeah, definitely. And Palace are ramping up the price as well because Chelsea have that sell-on clause. I think it's 20% or something like that. So that's always going to play a factor. But we've got more competition for him now than we did a few weeks ago, even a couple of days ago, like I said, given this Colwill injury. But I think if any club's going to give him the game time, you look at Chelsea and they've got 8 or 9 senior players, even without Colwill. There's a lot of competition there. At least with us, he's got the prospect of, look, we've only got Konate and Van Dijk, and then you've got Endo. Konate may not even be here next summer, so you've got a straight shot into this first team. Just won the league. We're best suited to win it again. I think if any club can convince him, obviously might be biased, but I think we're the ones in the best ball position. And like Steve Parish said, it's either sign the contract or go, but we don't want to lose him on a free. So at some point, their hand is going to be forced between now and by the end of January to sell him.
On the fee, Andy, he's 25.
Yeah.
It turns 26. He has just turned 25, by the way, in July, so he's not old. This idea that Liverpool think because he's got down to a year in his contract, we only want to sign him for £30 million. I get it, because you want to spend as little as you can on players, but he probably is a £50 million value player. The contract situation changes it, but Newcastle and Chelsea maybe being back in the mix maybe swings the pendulum back the other way. You might have to fork up a little bit more than you wanted to for him.
Yeah, he's definitely not a 30 million player. He's a 50-60 million pound player, like you say. He's brilliant yesterday.
Can I say something? And I guess I think he might be better than Konate.
You've said that before, you lunatic.
I think it's close. I think Ibu at his best is better, but Ibu at his worst is worse.
Yeah.
And Gay's
more consistent to the point.
Gay's more consistent, and I'm alright with that.
I think
rather than a 9.
Ibu's levels are so.
Ibu's highest level is a 9, 10. It's unbelievable. But I think Ibu's worst is worse.
He has higher peaks and lower
peaks and troughs kind of thing. Where Gay's a bit more steady. Again, different. He plays in a 3 for Palace. It's different. He plays on the other side. I think for England, he'd have to do a little bit of change around it. But I like him. I think he's every bit a £50 million player for me.
I think to that point, whether he's a better player than Konate overall, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that. But what I do think is that I think people think that he would come in as very much third choice and will only get a game when Konate needs a rest or when Konate's injured. I don't think that'll be the case. Yeah. I think similar to the sort of rotation of the centre halves we had around 1920, where Gomez is doing a bit, Matip's doing a bit, even Lovren, actually, for all his faults, comes in and has a solid couple of months around that time. It's very much, you may have your preferences to the European Cup final tomorrow, but it is not a sort of settled 2 in front of your goalkeeper at all times. And I think that's exactly what we need at the moment, especially if we're leaving ourselves a little bit light. If you go with 4 senior centre halves and one of them is Joe Gomez, you do leave yourselves open to leaving yourself a little bit light. And we do that last season and it works. And one of them's Kwanzaa, who's obviously gone. But what we have to remember is Konate has an unusually good season in terms of staying fit. I think he even gets the one injury, doesn't he, at that point? And there's no guarantee that that's going to continue. Now, I understand the fitness team that Arne Slot has seemed to be able to keep players fit a lot better than Jurgen Klopp was able to. Not that that's difficult, but I would still ideally be looking for a Gahey and possibly a Leone as your project, and at least 2 up front. But if we get 4 players in, I will be pleasantly surprised.
Can I push just on the Konate thing really quick? Sorry, only a second. Because last season, everyone says he had this incredible season where he stayed fit. Slot's really revolutionised them. He had the one injury. He missed 34 days in 8 matches. The season before, he missed 34 days in 8 matches through 2 separate small injuries. So I don't think Slot's done too much. I just think he's sort of adjusted himself to being able to stay fit.
I think you can almost accept when someone whacks your knee. I think it was Rodrigo. It was
Real Madrid.
Hendrick maybe. Who just smacked. Like that can happen.
That happens. Yeah.
It's there was definitely less muscle injuries, touch wood, last year for Liverpool.
The only thing he hasn't cured is Joe Gomez.
Yeah.
Ultimately, as you were saying there about the fitness record being better, it was, but Joe Gomez remains a constant. And you won't like this, Andy, forgive me, Conor Bradley. Falls into the same category as well.
The one thing on that, the theory seems to be is that he's still growing, and he's growing to an unusually old age. He's going to keep growing until he's 22. And some of the comparisons are that Gerrard had a lot of injuries around that time as well. So I hope that's the case. I hope he's not just an injury-prone player, because the quality that we saw from Jeremy Frimpong yesterday, even if Bradley has a shirt, if you're out for a couple of games, Frimpong could take that shirt from you, and you might not get it back for a while. The
competition for places at fullback, I know this is slightly off topic, is a fascinating one to me, because I don't think either occupants, Conor Bradley or Andy Robertson, are going to give that up lightly without a fight. You know what I mean?
By the way, I don't think Andy Robertson's got it.
You're dead set, and
Kirkes is going to play.
I think so, yeah.
But I don't think Andy Robertson will just roll over and go, yeah, go ahead.
I think he wanted to leave because he wanted.
That's what I mean. So I think there will come games and there'll be moments in the season whereby that flips reverse, and I think that's a great place to be for Liverpool.
I see Andy Robbo, before it's worth doing the James Milner thing a few years ago. Yeah. He's your midweek captain, all your League Cups, early rounds, Champions League. Like, he's in your, not captain in them because by age, but like he plays. Last year it was him and Costas rotated a lot, but it felt like Andy Robertson for the most part was the A side and Costas was the B side. I feel you might get Kirkes as your A side and Robbo, which is great. That's a great place to be. Liverpool are sound, I think, a fullback in terms of depth. Midfield, pretty much thereabouts. There's a few, even goalkeeper you're happy with. There's just a couple of other areas that we're speaking about, and it brings me on to Leone. Actually, I must admit, I haven't seen a lot of Leone. You know, £35 million is the reported fee that his Palmer would like for him. Yeah. I see your point of go and buy both. I just don't see Liverpool spending like £80 million on two centre halves. I think for that to happen, Gomez would have had to go, and Gomez is too injured to sell at this moment in time. Last year was your chance if you were going to sell Gomez. He could have went last year. They chose not to again. So are you at the point now, Lewis, where you think it might be Gay or Leone? Because there was a while where Liverpool were talking about a centre half to come in and a young prospect to develop. Feels like that ship might have sailed now. Yeah,
I think it will be one or the other. It shouldn't be, because, you know, Slot said a few days ago, look, there's not a centre-back issue. We've got Endo can play there if we need to. Gravenberch can play there. Sure. All right, whatever. But
I hate that. I haven't got a hair issue. I've got a wig. I can put a hat on.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's fine, yeah.
I think Gravenberch's quite a good centre-half, by the way, but I do.
But he is also in midfield.
He's also your best midfield.
I would love to get Leone. I think he's got so much potential, and he's so talented for right now. Like 6'5", he can play left and right side of defence. He can play in a back three, a back four. But again, he is a project player. Are we going to bring someone in like that instead of a Gahey, who's an established Premier League leader, who's won the FA Cup, or someone who is capable of rotating, but you're not going to see the top level of him for another 2-3 years?
I think you can make the argument for both. You could easily make the argument, say, listen, Van Dijk and Konate play, and me back up, I've got an experienced fella, touchwood, he can get fit, and a young kid.
Yeah.
I don't know, I wouldn't agree with that. I would like it to be Gay if I had the choice. But
I would.
If you're a squad builder, the general sense of depth is you'll have your starters, you probably have a veteran who you can just rely on, and then you have a kid. That tends to be how you want your depth to act out. It's just, again, Gomez's injury record really throws a spanner in that works. But I agree, I'm with you. It's not my money, who gives a fuck, but I would go and get both of them if it was me. But I just don't see, again, Liverpool having five centre halves. They've done it before. They've absolutely done this before, where they've had plenty of options there, so it isn't unfathomable. But
I think it's a necessity that we get both. Personally, I think to have any conversation around Joe Gomez being a viable option is somewhat fanciful right now, and I hate saying it.
He does exist, though, doesn't it? That's right. Like, you have to register these players, and you have to pay them their wage, and you have to. There has to be trade. You mean if he's fit? I go back to your point. If he's always on the fitness table, which he has been, but like I agree. But in theory, it just doesn't work like that. Just because a lad's injured, he is still part of your squad. You'd have to get rid of him effectively, which again might not be that easy.
No, it's not going to happen, doesn't it? Listen, obviously the squad and the room within that squad will dictate a lot of what I'm saying here. But if indeed that does come to pass and he is fit and available, you could have Joe Gomez around as a viable squad option in numerous positions. He's done that before, whilst also having Leone and Gay. And I think Liverpool again will be better for it, because to go into a season, let's say it is just Leone, let's use that example, with Konate, Van Dijk, Joe Gomez, and then an 18-year-old who just come and he's fresh out of Serie A. I think he's played 17 Serie A
27
games,
matches in total.
So not exactly, Liverpool previously, their track record of making signings has been on the 160 mark in terms of sample size of football at senior level. It's 27 games. Like, that feels...
That's why I don't get it. And that's why I think...
I like the signing, but just him below the ones I've just mentioned, a slightly injury-prone Konate, and let's be honest, Joe Gomez, I apologise, a very injury-prone Joe Gomez at this point. And then you mentioned there in terms of Endo and Quansah and whoever else you want to throw into the mix. Yeah, not for me.
What you could do, Andy, is buy both of them, but keep Leone on loan.
Yep.
So you get Gay in now, and you say to Leone, you come in and say to Palmer, you're going to have him for another year, Mamardashvili style, and then Gomez just leaves next year. Or Konate goes with this contract situation and you've got your replacement lined up. That will be clever business, and we've seen actually Liverpool do that twice with this style of transfer team. You know, they did it with Naby Keita back in the day, and they did it again with Mamardashvili last year. That could be on the cards, yeah. Because I'm with you, he needs to play. There's no point buying an 18-year-old lad to bring him here to give him no footy. If he's 18, keep him playing. But if you think he's that good, there's an option to do the deal now, so that you're almost removing one headache from 12 months. Because regardless of what happens next year, you're probably going to need another centre-half anyway.
Yeah, and if us, Inter and, I don't know, Juventus are all willing to pay 35 million for him, but we're the only one willing to loan him back, that might be what gets the deal over the line for us. I think just listening to everyone talk there, you know, Joe Gomez is injured right now, but even if Joe Gomez was fit right now, we'd be having the exact same conversations of we can't rely on him to stay fit, and he is injury prone, regardless of his current status. And I wonder how much is Joe Gomez's presence in the squad hamstringing the idea of a second sign. I've just made up a word there, but you know what I mean. You know, if we sign these two, then we're going with 5. Are we able to give Leone the games we want for his development if we're not going to loan him out? And all that's to do with the fact that Joe Gomez is there, and when he is fit, he is good enough to be the 3rd or 4th choice. I wonder whether it's this year. Certainly not this year, actually, but next year, is it worth just sort of cutting our losses and saying, thank you, Joe, you've been a great servant to us. You've given us runs of games in different positions, but ultimately we just need to start this again. And then we know exactly where we stand. We've got good centre halves who are fit most of the time, and we sort of do our succession planning from there. Let's
have a little look at a little prediction game then, guys. By the time we speak again on this show, I don't know who's in the show, I haven't even looked at the calendar next week who's on it. What do we think anything's happened? I wouldn't be shocked if Costas has gone.
Yeah.
Feels Elliott, there could be something Elliott-y. Although that doesn't seem ridiculously imminent right now, but there could be something there. But everyone's on about the incomings, I guess, Dan. You'd like to see some movement somewhere on a striker or a centre-half. I mean, ideally you do both, but if that might be a bit much. But it feels like the Gay thing and the Isak thing, they're all dependent on a few other factors, so it's tough to nail it down.
I think we might have to wait a little bit longer on Isak, and I feel like I've been waiting forever and a day already, so I apologise. I'm losing patience as well, but I think it'll all be worth it in the end. I think the Gay thing might move on. I actually think yesterday's game, now being a thing of the past, might help that move on touch, because I think just having that game no longer a thing, and Steve Parish has already come out and said what he said, so I think Liverpool will act now on Mark Gahey personally, and I think yesterday's performance was more sort of credence to him being a really, really viable option for our squad, because I think he's top quality. So yeah, I think we'll see some proper Gahey movement, and as you rightly say, I think some of the outgoings will probably come to pass by this time next week.
Yeah, I do wonder, actually, maybe Palace have said, listen, maybe they were waiting for today because they had their court case and now they know where they're going to be.
Also true.
They lost it, yeah. So they're going to be
bit of a kick in the teeth really for them.
So maybe they financially, but also for him, like maybe he'd have been more. Maybe they'd have said, "Listen, a year with you in the Europa League and helping us win the Europa League is worth not getting the £50 million, £30 million,
and you'll definitely play in the World Cup."
Yeah,
yeah.
That's part
true.
of his thinking.
So it'll be interesting, but I'm with you. I think I would like to see some more movement on the centre halves. I can deal with the striker for one more week, I think. And I understand that the Isak thing he's so good that you might have to wait until Newcastle have done their business. Yeah. I don't think Liverpool are really in a position on the centre back thing. But they might just take the gamble of, it's one game. We're going to play Van Dijk and Konate anyway, what's the rush? And then we can cross that bridge later down the line. So I don't think it's like a...
It's 10 days, isn't it, after Bournemouth as well to Newcastle?
Yes.
So
I think like this idea that you need everyone in for the first game of the season, ideally, yes, that's exactly how you want your transfers done. But I think Liverpool might be looking at it now going, well, what's the rush? He's not going to play anyway. Even if he signed Isak tomorrow, he wouldn't play on Friday. He has another training session. Gay's injured by all accounts, or had a little knock anyway, so maybe they're there. But I would still like this winger as well, Lewis, to finish on this chart. I don't know who it is. Maybe if it's Barkler and Isak, and we all pull our cocks off, absolutely fine. But I still think I would like them. I like Rio. I think he's a good player. But if he's not going to trust Chiesa in the role, and I think that isn't the worst option, I would give him a run. But if he's not going to, then I think they need to do Isak and the winger, whoever that would be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I haven't got much to say. It's we just need depth there. If he's not going to trust Ngamoura in the Community Shield, like I said before, he's not going to trust him in a big match in the Premier League or the Champions League, I don't think. So we do need rotation. I would have loved Rodrigo, but like I said, that's City just seem to be getting their green mitts on him now. So yeah, we do need a bit more depth in that position.
It feels like that Rodrigo deal was there for someone to do. City have just bit the bullet, fair play to him. Like, and he'll play. And he'll play right wing.
Well, they're selling Savinho now, aren't they? So.
Yeah. And McAtee's the funder, so fair play. But yeah,
the winger depth is fascinating. I know we're about to wrap up, but like, if he just can't play Keita, like, I'm not sure what the winger depth is. Again, I'm a big advocate, a big fan of both Rio and Ben Doak.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure.
Well, he says Frimpong, and Frimpong can become
coming right back.
He can be your winger depth if you then have Bradley and Gomez as your right back depth. But by the way,
that's 2 injury-prone players there.
Love them all individually, but
I'm agreeing with you, but that's the short blanket theory that Rafa used to always talk about.
Yeah.
That makes sense up until it doesn't make sense, because the two lads you're relying on all of a sudden can't play there anymore. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating how it all pans out. I agree, by the way. I think if I had to make my prediction, I think there might be some gay stuff or a centre-back stuff this year, this week either way, and the Isak thing maybe rumbles on up until a point where, even if it isn't before the Newcastle game, it's a point where he could never play in that game anyway, because he clearly hasn't had enough training or pre-season.
If it is after that, that is the final week of the window then?
Yes.
It was 25th, that game, isn't it, the Monday night? And then we are literally, because it ends the week that day. So yeah, that is late.
But you can always agree and shake hands on the fact that you're not going to do it until... You can just do that. And we probably don't even find out about it. Or it's rumbling on, but it's not actually official until after that game. They can just delay it all, and there's ways around it. But do you think... Last question before we round up, and I'd like you guys in the chat, let me know as well. Are Isak and Gay Liverpool players by the time the window shuts? Both yes, one each knows.
Both yes. I'm still relatively convinced that both will play for Liverpool.
Yes, but I am a little bit hesitant with Gahey and Leone as to which one of them will come in because of Chelsea.
I'm the other way. I think Gahey will be, and I'm not sure if they'll sell Isak.
No, both yes. Almost. I'm pretty sure we're going to get Isak. Yeah.
There you go. You come to Redmen TV for hard, conclusive discussions. 2 yeses, a no and a yes, and a no and a yes, and a yes, no. Yeah, absolutely. That sums it up, how things go here. It's a roundup then. Sider Mackham says yes for both. So does Rakeen. So does Shearing. I probably got that name wrong. Pemba. Your boy Gus says yes to Gahey and no to... No Gus. Yeah. Gahey yes, no to Isak. Stuart thinks both are going to turn up as well. So yeah, there we go. We'll see how it all pans out. Right, stick around. We're not going anywhere. We're heading over to Redmen Plus right now for the biased transfer podcast. We're going to talk Man United, apparently maybe getting their shit together. We'll have a little talk about Rodrigo, Manchester City and all that good stuff. Jack Grealish signing for Everton, why nobody still wants to sign for Newcastle, and loads more. So yeah, that'll be available very, very shortly over on redmenplus.com for now. Thanks to Dan, thanks to Lewis, thanks to Andy, thanks for you guys for watching or listening. Go and check out the competition one more time with Oosh. Go and click the link, get yourselves in the free prize draw. You might win a car. See you all soon.